Hey there, Canada. You're tuned into Airstreaming Radio, streaming live on TuneIn Radio and airstreaming.org. With the big election coming up on April 28th, let's break down what Conservative Leader Pierre Poilievre is bringing to the table for our resource industry and how it could impact Indigenous communities. So, Poilievre's got this idea called the First Nations Resource Charge, or FNRC. It's an optional plan designed to let First Nations collect revenues directly from resource projects on their lands. The goal? Make negotiations smoother and ensure Indigenous communities see real financial benefits. He promises this will respect all treaty and constitutional rights, including the duty to consult. This is Chief Trevor Makadahai of the Doig River First Nation, speaking with Pierre Poilievre at just such a consultation meeting in 2024.
So we can uplift our people and our community, not only for the announcement, but for the relationships in mutual respect and understanding. There was common words earlier, in a good way. And Pierre, to hear that is a reminder that people are here in trust and bestow trust not only on you, but the true leadership here today.
On top of that, he's talking about fast-tracking federal permits for big projects like mining in Ontario's Ring of Fire region. Poilievre wants to get all necessary permits approved within 6 months to kickstart job creation and boost the economy. And there's more. He's pledging $1 billion over 3 years to build road networks connecting mining sites to Ontario's highways and nearby First Nations communities. This is all about making resource development easier and improving access for Indigenous populations. Pierre Poilievre discusses the program with the representatives and chiefs who attended the meeting.
Thank you very much for hosting me today on these your ancestral lands, and thank you very much to the great Manny Jules for having brought together such a distinguished group of First Nations people to confirm and consecrate the proposal that you have developed over so many years. Today is a historic moment where, for the first time, a federal leader commits to ceding federal tax room to First Nations governments so that they can take back control of their money. This is consistent with the achievement of Manny's father, Clarence Jules, who successfully convinced the Mulroney government to allow First Nations reserves to collect their own property taxes. Now we are going to take that further by allowing First Nations to collect federal corporate taxes. For hundreds of years, First Nations have suffered under a broken colonial system that takes power away from their communities and places it in the hands of politicians in Ottawa. The racist and unfair Indian Act hands over all reserve land and money to the federal government. This means that First Nations have to go to Ottawa to ask for their tax revenues collected from resources on their land. This outdated system puts power in the hands of bureaucrats, politicians, and lobbyists, not First Nations. The direct result of the Ottawa Knows Best approach has been poverty, substandard infrastructure and housing, and unsafe drinking water and despair. The solution is the one that the great Manny Jules has presented with the guidance of these leaders here today. And we have listened, and it is the First Nations Resource Charge. This is a First Nations-led solution to a made-in-Ottawa problem. First Nations and the First Nations Tax Commission developed the plan, brought it to Conservatives, and today I announce that we have accepted it. This optional model, and it is optional, so any First Nation that chooses not to use this model will be able to stick with existing arrangements. This optional model will simplify negotiations between resource companies and First Nations so that we don't have to waste years and years and years on new negotiations, reinventing the wheel every single time there's a new proposal.
Reactions are mixed. Some Indigenous leaders see this as a chance for economic empowerment. For instance, leaders from Webekwi and Martin Falls First Nations, who support building a road to the Ring of Fire, are on board with Poilievre's commitment to funding and speeding up approvals. They view it as a step toward economic reconciliation, but not everyone's convinced. There are concerns about environmental impacts and whether the consultation processes will be thorough enough. Critics worry that rolling back environmental assessment laws like Bill C-69 to speed up project approvals might sideline Indigenous participation and reduce environmental oversight in resource development decisions. Here is what representatives of the First Nations communities affected have to say about Bill C-69. Stephen Buffalo, President and CEO of the Indian Resource Council, or IRC, has urged senators to oppose Bill C-69, stating that it would wreak havoc on Indigenous economic development in many parts of Canada. The IRC represents numerous First Nations with oil and gas interests and has been vocal about the bill's potential negative impacts on Indigenous communities involved in the energy sector. Region 1 Aboriginal Business Association, or ROABA, which promotes the interests of Indigenous-owned businesses in northern Alberta, organized a convoy of over 30 trucks to support pipelines and oppose Bill C-69. This event was highlighted as the first Indigenous-led rally in support of energy resources, reflecting the community's apprehensions about the bill's implications. Chief Roy Fox has indicated that the majority of tribal leadership of Treaty 7, covering southern Alberta, is against Bill C-69. Their concerns center around the belief that the bill could introduce regulatory complexities that may hinder economic opportunities for their communities. As we wrap up today's show, a crucial reminder: the federal election is just around the corner on Monday, April 28th, 2025. Your voice matters, and voting is the cornerstone of our democracy. Make sure you're registered and know where and how to cast your ballot. For comprehensive information on voter registration, polling locations, and acceptable identification, visit Elections Canada's official website at elections.ca. Remember, advanced polling days are available from April 18th to 21st, offering flexibility for those unable to vote on Election Day. Participating in the electoral process empowers you to shape the future of our nation. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, make your vote count on April 28th. Thank you for joining us on Airstreaming Radio. Stay tuned for more updates and discussions leading up to the election. Until next time, take care and exercise your right to vote.